Hello and welcome to another LSB film podcast with your host Chris Brooks. I hope everyone's keeping well today. So on today's podcast I am joined with Rob Kinsey. Now Rob is not a monk, he's not a guru, just a regular fella who discovered something that most of us overlook, the power of looking inwards. While the world keeps shouting about external fixes, Rob's life was transformed through meditation, breathwork, showing maybe the answers that we're all searching for aren't out there at all. They're within. Rob practices, and I'm going to screw this up, so pre-warned, Vipassana. Now, that's a meditation. Now, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I do know that it takes a lot of discipline and commitment. In fact, he's about to serve on a 10-day course, helping others to learn the same technique that has helped reshape Rob's own life. But don't worry, today it's not about doctrine or dogma. It's the story of one man exploring his own mind, finding peace in unexpected places, and discovering practices that anyone can start, anytime, anywhere. So if you've ever wondered what really happens when you sit quietly with yourself, or how meditation can shift the way that you view the world, Rob's going to share his journey. And I know a lot of you are obsessed with fear porn, but please, I urge you to sit and listen to this conversation. And just maybe it will give you a few tools that you can try for yourself. Let's get on with it.
Are you concerned about all this corruption being rebranded as conspiracy theory? Well, don't you worry. Sit back and relax and join in the conversation with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
So, welcome to the show, Rob. It's great to have you here.
Hello. How you
Hello.
doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say on this subject, because I, probably like many others, have tried meditation and I just really struggle. The best that I can do now is breathing exercises because it's giving me a focus rather than trying to defocus. And yeah, but even that I need to up my game because I know what I should be doing, but I don't. I'm good at giving out information and, oh, you should really do this. I really recommend this. But yeah, I lack to do it myself. So I'm hoping that you're going to inspire me somewhat with this conversation and those watching. So,
Well, we'll see. All I can do is give you my experience, as I'm no guru or anything like that, but I do meditate myself, obviously, now. I suppose the first question would be, what is meditation? I mean, what is meditation to you when you think about it?
I suppose to me, meditation, the first thing I would think would be introspection. Is that a word?
Yeah, that's a word.
Where you're looking inwards
Yeah.
and not outwards for answers and clarification and those kind of
No.
things.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I see it as well. I think there's loads of different ways of doing meditation. I think there's loads of different meditations. So there's, um, and everyone disagrees. I've found there's loads of people agree and disagree about all sorts of different things. So I personally now I do Vipassana meditation. So Vipassana is a particular branch. It's a Buddhist technique. There's a centre in Hereford. There's actually one down in Suffolk as well now, but the main one's in Hereford, a place called Dharma. And that when you want to go and learn Vipassana, you go there and you do a 10-day retreat. So you're there and it's a silent retreat. So no talking to anybody, no eye contact, no gestures. You get your food, your boarding, and there's a big hall for you to meditate in, and there's a gong that gets rung so you know where to be, when to go, all this sort of thing. So, and you're just sitting for 10 hours a day with breaks in between, and you get fed when what you're supposed to be fed, when you're supposed to be fed. And it's all set out for you. It's really nice. I really like them.
I was going to say, did you enjoy the silence?
For me, it's just bliss. The idea of not talking to anybody is just like utter bliss.
Yeah, and not having, because there's nothing worse than trying to make small talk.
No, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
so to have an excuse as to not talk is poor.
But I mean, yeah, I don't want to do an advert for Vipassana necessarily, but I'll just give you an overview. I mean, it's free. They're free to go on. So they work on a donation based thing. So when once you've done the retreat, if you've got something out of it, you give donation, which they call dana. And for me, it was I used to be quite an angry person. I used to have a lot of tantrums, a lot of meltdowns, like just smash things up and throw things. All that stopped after
Mm.
after one of these retreats.
Really, just one.
Yeah. Yeah, and but I've done quite a few now. I go twice a year and I serve once a year, um, and I meditate twice a day now. So I'm kind of heavily invested in it, and it works for me. But that's just one sort of meditation. It's pretty hardcore. That's just what I do.
Well, talk me through it then. Let's have a pretend. Well, I am a novice, so treat me as such.
Well, I can give you
What's the process?
so. So every meditation's different. I mean, this one is supposed to be a technique taught by Gautama the Buddha. Um, it's not Buddhism. It's just, but obviously there's a lot of Buddhism sort of stuff around it. I mean, I come from a more Taoist background, from sort of Tai Chi type thing, anyway. But it's you're basically scanning down through your body and you're feeling for sensations going on in your body. Is that's the quick version of it. Um, and there isn't a lot more to it than that, but it's kind of the thing about meditation is the thing I've noticed about meditation, what makes it work is consistency.
Mm.
Now, it doesn't matter how much you do. So when I started off trying to learn meditation before I did Vipassana, because I used to smoke, so I could never do a 10-day retreat while I was still a smoker. That would have been like the biggest amount of torture ever. Because I did used to light my cigarettes, but I stopped, and as soon as I stopped, I then went on to do one of these retreats, and that's really helped as well. So I'm not going to be a smoker now. But up until then, what I was doing was because I needed to calm my mind down because of some of the stuff that I was trying to learn online in ways of making money and things like that. So there's lots of looking at financial charts I was trying. So a friend of mine that I used to do gardening with, he used to talk about meditation all the time. He turned around and said, "Well, there's like a really easy one you can do." He goes, it's a really nice, simple Zen meditation, and it's the one that I've just done for ages. And it's basically what you do is you just count 4 breaths at a time. So in and out is 1 breath, two, three, and you just sit there and you watch that. Your eyes closed, and you can do that for 2 minutes. You can do it for an hour. You can do it for 3 hours, or you can do it for half an hour. Do you know what I mean? And but what you'll find is you'll find that you can't get to four. Four's like I kind of like the four thing. I don't know if it's a specific thing, but you'll find sometimes you'll get to 4 breaths, and then there'll be other times when suddenly you find you've gone to five, six, seven, where your mind's wandered off, and there'll be other times where you've forgotten what number you're at, and then each time you just go back to one. But
So let me get this right. So that's one,
yeah,
and you just do that 4 times.
yeah.
Okay.
And then you go back to one and you go back to one again, and you just keep doing these cycles. And what happens? You'll find your mind will wander, and what will happen is you'll find emotions start coming up. I used to get quite upset when I because you think, oh, I should be able to do this, and frustrate. And it's like the real key point, and this is one of little Goenka's, not little. This is one of Goenka's phrases. You should always come back smilingly to the start. So in other words, you just notice, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. My mind's got distracted again.
And then
Uh,
just reset.
in actual fact, if you can actually do 4 breaths, 2 or 3 in a row, you're actually doing extremely well because most people can't. I mean, I learned Tai Chi, and my teacher used to teach it as a martial art, and I'm not a fighter, I never have been. And he used to get a bit frustrated with me. But we'd all be doing these exercises, and you just watch for someone's mind gapping. And so you'd look and you'd see where their mind had got distracted, and then suddenly you could slide in there, or you could slip past them and just
How do
and
you see that? Is
it
it facial twitches? Like you see?
no,
Mhm.
this is the thing about meditative practices. You start you start getting into the field of I mean, it's
Intuition
the
and
word
stuff.
I really intuition's a better one. A lot of people talk about psychic things, and I think a lot of people get that wrong and about what it is, and they think, oh, it's all about clairvoyance, and it's not. If you're looking at, well, yeah, I suppose it
Because
can
I
be.
suppose it's more synchronicities, isn't it?
There's all sorts of things. So the way I look at it is that it's more like a, if you imagine being out on a field, nice green field in the countryside on a really crisp autumn or winter morning when there's frost in the air,
Mm.
and there's that glint in the air, and there's that just sparkle in the air. You're in the field. You're in the field of that, right? Now imagine we're talking about meditation at the moment. We're actually discussing it. Imagine that as being that sparkle in the field. So you're standing in the field, and what's around us at the moment in our conversation, we're in a field of the energy of meditation. Because communication, speaking, all it
The
is a
frequencies,
compression of that. Huh?
frequencies.
It's frequencies, yeah, but it's an
Mm.
energetic frequency, and all communication is speaking is a compression of that so that we can convey from one to the other. But ultimately, what happens is you take it in, you unpack it, and you either understand it or you don't. But of course, that's not from the words. You're taking it from the person you're talking to as well. So it's all in the field. So when you start to understand that field and you start to tune into it, which anyone can tune into it, you'll start to notice stuff. And so you'll start to notice stuff around. And for me, it's been a bit weird because I always thought, oh, can you see it? Can you not see it? And you just pick stuff up. And it's when you start to learn to trust what you're picking up, that's when it starts to really accelerate as to how your intuition works and how you are able to just actually sit and go stiller into
Can
the
you
moment.
can you give me any real life examples of where your intuition has
Mm, not really, because the way I use my intuition is more just to keep me in calmer
check,
places. So it's
keep
the
you in
sort of
check?
thing that
Yeah.
stops me going down a dodgy road somewhere, or to get out of a place where I'm feeling the energy's going a bit haywire, or do you know what I mean? It's sort of I use it to get out of trouble really, because I've always been a bit of a scared chap. So I've always had that. Um, everyone has their own sort of upbringings of how they are, and mine just made me an empath. So because my there was a lot of alcohol around in with my parents, which is probably why I don't drink. But as a result, I ended up becoming what's called an empath, where you
Hmm.
you get a bit confused and you can't work out if they're your emotions or someone else's emotions. Do you know what I mean? So it has its own problems, but once you start to understand it a little bit, now I kind of understand what's my emotions and what are other people. I still get a bit confused from time to time, but I think everybody has this ability because it's something that's innate in us, and I'm certain that it just gets deprogrammed out of it as we go to school and as our parents. Do you know what I mean? Um,
The whole system,
this whole
even
other
even
podcast that
even
makes
like even the word parents,
yeah,
the
yeah,
parents from the state because they own the child with the birth certificate.
yeah. So I
It's it,
think so that we have all this here, and the thing with meditation is meditation gives you the ability to start going back into that space. And from my point of view, it's in this field because this field is effectively your unconscious, and your unconscious. I say it's all sort of out there. It's not. It's all in here. It's all in here, and it's like when you start to question this, you start questioning what is the nature of reality. Are we talking inside or outside? And then you'll eventually you start to realize that what's outside is actually just a reflection of what's inside
yeah,
anyway.
that's
So
mirroring what's going on in here.
kind of there's kind of in it, I mean, and it's so for me it's really complex, but the more you learn it and the more you understand it, the simpler it gets and the easier it gets. um but ultimately when you're this four breath one is just a great place to start, because you can start seeing all these things starting to happen. You'll notice your mind wandering. This is the first thing, and what you're doing is you're trying to rein that in. And so I did that for years before I went on Vipassana, only to find out that the two things that I've been doing all my life were actually in Vipassana anyway. So the first thing you learn when you go there, the first 3 days is called Anapana meditation, which is that what I've just told you, but without the counting. And there's a specific reason for that. I think the counting is useful when you're trying to learn because it gives you
Focus.
something to focus on. Yeah, because it's all very well going hardcore into a hardcore meditation, but a lot of people just can't. And you have to tailor things and find out what does make your mind calm down, because ultimately that's what we want. We want the chatter inside to just give it a break for a little bit, just
Mm. Yeah,
damp it
absolutely.
down. Do you know what I mean? That's what I wanted, and that's where. And you'll find when you sit, you just have to sit somewhere comfortably, make sure it's fairly warm, make sure you've had. I always drink a pint of water before I do my meditation in the morning. Um, but you with this four breathing, you can do it for just like 5 minutes every morning. Just have it as your morning thing for 5 minutes. 5 minutes won't break the bank of time, you see. But the consistency of it, if that consistency, even if it's only 2 minutes a day, building that habit of clean your teeth, go and do your meditation, or do your meditation and go and clean your teeth. Do you know what I mean?
With your non-fluoride toothpaste.
Yeah. Or just water like me. I don't believe in rubbing sugar on your teeth. I don't doesn't make sense to me. Um,
No,
but
that's true.
it's the consistency that will start to build something. And the thing that got me about meditation is you never really know what you're. I don't think for any minute you know exactly what you're doing in meditation. I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's about putting the effort into wanting to be a better person and wanting to understand the wisdom of the world. And the world just shows you stuff.
It's
Like
about intent,
walking
isn't it?
is her.
It's about the intent.
I think so. And the intent to just be doing something that's worthwhile, maybe. I'm not
Mm,
sure how, without being a Mr. Preachy priest type person. Um, but I found the consistency is the one that seems to work over time. So if you're going to do 15 minutes, then you need to be doing 15 minutes every day. If you're going to do 5 minutes every day, just do 5 minutes every day. And that's a great place to start because eventually you're like, I'm going to do 10 minutes now because
mm,
you sit in there and when you get into it, and it only takes about a week or so to suddenly start thinking, this is actually quite nice. You want the nice feelings first. That's why people think about meditations. You want the nice feelings first. You want to be getting a benefit and a bonus from it.
mm.
Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
So you would think 5 minutes right at the start of your day and maybe 5 minutes before you go to bed would be like the ideal
That
times.
that is actually a very perfect way to be. That's a very,
Mm,
very good way to be, and it's something that I can't necessarily do. But if you get that, because Goenka is the guy that came out of Vipassana, and in one of his discourses towards the end of the course, it's always the same discourse, course, but at the end of the one, he mentions that he says when you go into bed, just spend time just feeling into your body and just noticing anything in your body just for 5 minutes before you go to sleep, and when you wake up, make that be the first thing that you do, just to feel into your body, just to see are your legs still there. Do you know what I mean? Just feel. But doing that four breath exercise, that could be a structured way of doing it as well. Anything that makes you look inwards and
mm.
just contemplating, but without your mind just going off into the cinema of the world, because it's the cinema of the world that's we know it's there. We need to change. We want to change that
Yeah,
because
that's right.
that's all just local thoughts, and most people's local thoughts in their subconscious has a negative connotation, and it's
It's those subconscious thoughts that we all have, which actually builds the reality we live in.
That's exactly. I was about to say something very similar
Mm.
because we're kind of unique in the universe in more ways than one, depending on what you believe. Um, but we manifest whatever it is that we do actually manifests. And I've had people challenge me on that, and I'm just like, well, look at everything around you. It's been in someone's head at some point. Do you know what I mean? You pick up a pencil, it's like someone had to think about it. And I don't know if you've ever had an idea for a project and thought, oh, I'd like to do that, and then you
And then
think,
you see someone else has done it.
yeah, like, yeah,
I think I mentioned this on another podcast as well. I think it was Michael Jackson, and they were talking about a particular song. It might have been Billie Jean, I can't remember.
yeah.
And they basically said, what made you come up with that?" And he said, "Well, basically, I recorded that because if I didn't do it, Prince would have had it." And he was basically saying that these are gifts which
Yeah.
which come, and it's up to you whether you choose to take it. The same as thoughts.
And this is how I've always.
Thoughts aren't yours, which
No,
is
no,
why, and the best way you can prove that is by tell me what you're going to think next, and you can't
no.
because they just come.
That's incredible. You're the first person I've spoken to that's actually said that back to me. That's
There you
that's
go.
exactly how I think about it. And I thought about that years ago when I was about 20. Me and my friend had taken some magic mushrooms and we'd gone for a walk in the woods. And we found and he we found this little dell in the woods where there was a swing, and the swing was at the wrong height. It was at this height, and it was a stick on a, and it's like that's the wrong height for a stick swing because you can't get your leg onto it, you can't hang from it, and it's like, why is it there? And
Mm.
he got lost. He got lost in that, and I just looked, and I stood at the top of the dell, and I looked down, and it looked like he was just in a swamp of thoughts and getting stuck in them. And
Really?
for the rest of the afternoon, I was walking around just, and then I'll get a thought, and then and I'll be looking around to see where it had come from. Do you know what I mean? And I've always thought that's the case. Your thoughts are just, they're just there, and you walk through them, or they come to you. I don't think they're ours.
They're
I
not.
don't think.
They're not. I
I don't
mean,
think.
I think it's safe to say we've all had some really horrendous like thoughts, like where the fuck did that come from? You know, we've all had it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the difference between normal, I don't know that word, normal people and psychopaths and stuff, is that they can't differentiate what's their thoughts, what's their own, the same as schizophrenia, maybe.
Ironically,
They
apparently.
can't tell the difference between what's them and what's
Well, you know what's interesting? They say that's the same about your subconscious. It can't tell the difference between what's an imagined thought and what's actually happening around you.
exactly, yeah, which is why they talk about, which I've always struggled to do, where they say, picture your inner.
Yeah, I've always struggled on that one as well. It's like, oh, well, you manifest the world that you want. It's like, well, I don't know what I want. I just want to be a bit happier, and
I
that's
can
why.
tell you what I don't want.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what you end up
But
manifesting.
that's what you end up manifesting. See, I am a fucking expert.
Oh
I
yeah, we
am
all are.
I am a professional at manifesting.
But this is the whole. I mean, this is if you go down the whole David Icke thing, which obviously I do, um, that you'll see this is where the sort of the whole cult, the whole Babylonian cult thing, and further is what it's for. It's designed so that we do manifest a nightmare world. It's up to us as individuals to turn around and say, "I'm not going to do that anymore." And I believe I've found the way through Vipassana myself. But I think everybody has their own way of doing it. But I definitely think meditation is something that everybody should be looking at because, from my point of view, it's what you is. I think you mentioned it earlier. It's introspection. It's looking inwards at what's in our system. Do you know what I
The
mean?
kingdom within.
Well, it is, and because I mean, what we're taught in Vipassana is that the body mind is one sort of thing. So you have um, everywhere in your body, your mind is connected to it in like a substance of its own type thing. So you're constantly working with it. So
Mm.
as you go deeper into it, it stops being the pains and because sitting for 10 hours a day, it's actually quite hard. Your knees hurt, your back really hurts. You get little niggles here and there, and you have to work through these because the physical body is part of your meditation. It's to do with it. I mean, I don't necessarily. If you're going to go on one of those courses, you'll learn about it, and because you can't leave necessarily.
Mm.
It's a good way to work through it. When you're not doing that, then I prescribe sitting on a chair and trying your meditation, or lying. Sitting down is better than lying down. I'll definitely give it that because lying down tends to make you drift off into a sleep type thing. Whereas if you're sitting upright without using the back to your chair, so you're supporting your own self for 5 minutes, you'll find you have an alertness. There's a more of you're awake, but your body's resting. So
Mm.
your body's resting, your mind is alert. When you lie down, your mind starts to drift. There's differences in how your mind. And as I say, I meditate twice a day now, 2 hours a day, one in the hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. If I lie down, I just fall asleep. So I sit cross-legged on a little cushion because that's what I find comfortable now. Um, but when you're when you're looking inwards and when you're even just watching your breath, because the breath is an unusual part of the body. You think there's all sorts of things about the breath. You think about it, um, you can control your own breath, and if you stop controlling your breath, does your breath stop? No, it carries on of its own accord. So in ultimately, what you're looking for is you're trying to get to the point where you're watching the breath doing its own thing and not controlling it. And that's the hard part. That's the bit
Yeah.
that takes a little while. but you get there eventually. And it's the important thing is not to get angry with your meditation. Just go, oh, that's interesting.
Mm.
Wow, this happens really, really quickly. And it's like eventually, but yeah, I know that I'm a really distracted person. Do you know what I mean?
See, the breath work I find helps a lot with that. And I can relate to a lot with what you were just saying there, where you become more of the witness. You're witnessing rather than being the participant.
Gives you the witnessing mind. Yeah.
And that's the Wim Hof breathing. I don't
Yes.
know if you've done that,
Yes, I did Wim Hof.
but
Hof was brilliant for me. It got me out of
and
quite a
your
deep.
whole yeah, depression got you out of
Yeah.
depression, and that and your whole body literally tingles with energy.
Absolutely, it does. It charges your body, and if you go and do some physical workout after that, you'll find you'll find you're doing much stronger workouts. Do you know what I mean? If you're doing push-ups, you can do 20 when you could only do 10 before, or things like this. Your body gets really charged, but it feels great as well.
But one thing that I always found really bizarre, and when you after a while, like when you're getting really into it, I did it for about 45 minutes one time with a
Wow.
fan on me, laying on the floor on a hot day after work. And it always felt like when you do the release of the,
Yeah.
you would just start giggling. But I always felt like there was a female presence energy
That's interesting.
because when I first did it, I genuinely thought my little girl had come in, and I
Wow.
looked
That's
up and
really,
there was no one there, and I'd had that several times where I had that. Oh, I'm not on my own. But
wow.
yeah, that's a fascinating. I'm going to try what you're doing about the 4 in, 4 out.
Yeah.
And but anyone who's watching this, and I have mentioned it before, I strongly urge anyone to try Wim Hof.
Yeah, I do as well.
I think the longest I could hold my breath for was about 3 minutes. I don't think I ever.
I got to 2 minutes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes
Um,
is really it's pretty good going, to be honest with
but
you.
that is like my highest that I ever did. But yeah, it really did pull me out of a dark place as well. I was going for like
Yeah.
insomnia and all that kind of thing, and
I was in a very, very dark place. So I just stopped smoking. I just stopped smoking weed and I'd just gone cold turkey because my flatmate had moved out and I was able to sort of I'd been wanting to stop for quite a while, but it was difficult over lockdown and you've got nothing else to do and you're with
mm,
another smoker. And I didn't realize you couldn't just stop just like that because it's so strong these days, you end up it messes up with your dopamine cycles. So what happens is if you I don't want to turn this into a weed thing, but if you smoke an awful lot of weed, what happens is your mind starts to lock on to the fact that to dopamine cycle. So you'll find you'll end up having a joint when your dopamine gets low. You won't know it. You'll just think, oh, I fancy another one, and you'll start building another one. And then when you stop completely, suddenly your body's not producing any dopamine, and it's like, and the feeling of no dopamine is really a place you don't want to be. That's like the most yin, the most darkest place ever, and it only lasts for 6 weeks. It's called
yeah,
cannabis psychosis. And but Wim Hof pulled me out of that,
that's
which I'm
that's
very grateful
that's
for.
good. I know
Uh,
exactly what you're talking about though. Like when I've had my days of where you're like if my boy goes, oh, can we go for a walk?
yeah,
If you've got something in your pocket where you can have a pipe on the way, it becomes
yeah,
an adventure and it's exciting and
oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
yeah. If you haven't got it, oh, I can't be bothered now. So yeah.
So the thing that got me around that was I just started realizing that I thought the world was weirder anyway. I just thought the world was just a weird place, and it is. Why am I taking something that's making it even weirder? Um, But yes, the Wim Hof thing, and then I got into the Wim Hof thing, and I really got into it. I saw that it was a BBC TV show with Willoughby or whatever her name is,
Yeah, Willa
and Wim
boobies.
Hof, yeah, Willoughby, and I because I've known about Wim Hof for like for a long time actually, but I just never quite got into it. Um, at the time, and I watched that, and I was watching the other the celebrities and how they dealt with it, and it was the cold shower thing that got me
Mm.
because they had to do a cold shower every morning, and it started off 15 seconds, and they hated it and all this sort of thing. And I was thinking, oh, well, I'm going to try that, and I had no heating in my flat because obviously the electricity thing was a nightmare for me, and I just couldn't afford to heat it, so it was coming off the winter, and anyway, I went and had a cold shower just for 15 seconds. I was like, oh, hated it. I was like, oh. And then I got out, my body just started charging with heat, and I'm like, this is how I'm going to get past the electricity problem. So I started having cold showers every day, and now I have just cold showers. I don't have hot showers at all now. But this is like 4 years later. But when I realized that suddenly worked, then I started doing the breathing. And what got me was when you do the breathing and you go into that, when you do the breath hold, it's an out breath hold, isn't it? So you don't completely empty, you just empty your lungs. You don't push
No,
out.
you just let it go. You just go.
Yeah. And then you sit there and you just lie there or whatever for however long, 2, 3 minutes. It's in that space is the perfect example of what a meditative space is like. You can't do anything else. So you've been doing a lot of meditation and without even really realizing it. That's the space where you can just go
Mm.
into, you don't necessarily have to charge yourself up with the
Well,
breathing.
this is what Wim Hof said, and that's what kind of what drew me to it. He said, "You go deeper in this breathing exercise
Yeah,
than some people who have been practicing meditation for 20 years ago."
that's exactly true. That's exactly true. Because I don't quite, do I get into spaces as deep as that? I probably do now. Yeah, I probably. I mean, I sit for 2 hours a day. If you go on to, if you go and do one of the retreats that I do out in Hereford, you do just being in the hall is just like it's like you go in there. It's like how have I got so much deeper just by being in the hall? You just go in there and immediately just go.
It's the energy, isn't it?
Everybody's in there doing
Mm.
that. Yeah, and you it's like the whole tuning forks thing. If you've got two tuning forks at the same pitch and you ding one, the other one will start ringing.
I have got somewhere a huge tuning fork
Oh, have you?
that my mum got me.
Oh
I
wow.
think
Is it
it's
a 432 tuning fork?
no,
That's what I'd like to get.
let me see if I can find it. Hang on.
Oh wow.
It is
Uh, what note is it? Can't hear it at the moment.
it's 128 hertz.
128.
I don't know what that does.
440's A, 220's A. What was that?
128.
128. So 220 is A, bit G or something?
I've got a bloody
Can't quite
guitar
hear
right
it.
next to me.
Huh?
I can't tell without it being plugged in. But it must have some health benefits, I'm guessing. Maybe pain,
Possibly. I
like
mean,
headache
there's a
for
lot of that sort
headaches.
of therapy stuff out there for sound. I've never really explored the sound therapy. I always do the only thing I've noticed of late, because getting back onto the meditation, there's there was something you said that made me think of something. Oh yeah, it's when you said about the presence. I really wanted to pick up on that when you
Hmm.
said you found the presence in the room,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you why. Um, so I'm one of these people where nothing magical ever really particularly happens. I grew up as an engineer and musician type thing. I've always been around music, and I've always been I've always been interested into the esoteric, but nothing's ever happened to me that way. I've never seen a
Mm.
ghost. I've never had an out of body experience. I've never had a near death experience. I've never had dead people come up to me. Nothing like that. Do you know
That
what I
you
mean?
know of.
Yeah, I'm the archetypal person that turns around and says, I don't believe it because I've never seen it. But that's not my attitude. It's like, I
You're
believe it's all out
open-minded.
there.
You just haven't witnessed it.
It's just never happened to me, but I've
Mm.
always been completely open to it. Now, I did end up doing a session with a very interesting fellow called Alandra Markman, who you can find on podcasts. Um, and I found him on a Jeff Mara podcast, and he was talking about off-world and aliens and all. I get quite into that. It's a bit more interesting than the Bible, as far as I'm concerned. And and he just sounded like a really nice fellow. It was an hour's interview, and there was a bit in there that he turned around and the guy turned around to him and said, "So what are you going to do next?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a really old soul, and I've been around for a long time, so I'll probably come back and be a human one more time before I go off up into the higher dimensions." And I just thought, this sounds like an interesting person to talk to. So I booked a session with him, not knowing what I was going to be in for. Got chatting. He's a really nice fellow, really, really lovely fellow. He's out in Mount Shasta, I think, out in and we started doing some meditation, and I was just completely a bit blown away, really, by what was happening around me because it was like nothing I'd ever experienced. Suddenly, you start feeling presences around you.
Was
You don't
this
know.
over Zoom?
This is over Zoom,
Yeah.
but it was like it was so prominent. It was so prominent, and he was just saying, just do what you do in Vipassana. And he goes, but you expand outside a little bit more into your aura, which you don't do with Vipassana. You're completely within the
Mm.
confines of your skin. But and so I was doing that, and he just started noticing, and he just started picking up on people. He's going, oh, I'm picking up on grandparents on your mother's side. And I was like, well, I don't really didn't really know them. And then suddenly you're looking around and you're starting to notice, and then you're starting to notice other people. And I started noticing friends of mine that passed away fairly recently, and he was picking up on those, and he was just commenting about them, and I was just like, so I don't know really what happened, but it was interesting enough for me to have another session. But I did then go and watch another podcast about him, and it turns out he's got quite an interesting and deep past. This is definitely someone to go and have a look at. He's been on quite a few podcasts, but there was a
What's his
truth.
name?
Alandra Markman.
Alondra Markman. Okay, I'll have to try and
Markman,
remember
yeah.
that.
He
Yeah,
was a
I
he,
you
he,
go.
he he's a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, so that's where his whole thing comes from. So it goes very deep, but yeah, he's interesting if you're into something that's a little bit out there. Um, for me, I did get into that. That's because I spent so much of my adult life learning how to be a grounded person and trying not to be have my head in the clouds and how not to be the new age hippie type person because I've always found that a little bit too
Don't they
it's
equate New Age with satanic?
possibly. I don't know what they do anymore. I keep meaning new age hippie types who are into their crystal licking and all this sort of stuff. And I'm sure there's something to be said for all of that. But the way people come across it and the way people do it, it's just like you need a rope to hang and bring them down to ground again. Because
Mm.
a lot of what I my what I sense is that a lot of what some of these people are saying is a bit of a mixture of some of their intuition with some of their ego. So it's the intuition their ego wants them to see.
Do you know what I always refer ego as?
What?
Edging God out.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So I have a battle with my ego. I have a constant battle with my ego because I not that I want to get rid of my ego or anything like that, but very aware of where it kicks in. So I always have that phrase that I got it from David Icke actually. Question everything. And that's the only way you'll find any truth. You just have to question everything. And when you've come up with an answer, you've got to question that as well. And when you come up with something yourself, you question that as well. And never be happy. Not never be happy with what you, but always question. And if
Mm.
you don't, if you turn around and say, "Oh, that's definitely the right thing," chances are it's just your ego ringing. Because
Trying to keep you safe.
you know what you were saying about our own. We never have our own thoughts. I
Hmm.
feel up to a point, there are some thoughts that we do have. If somebody stands on your foot, that'll be your own thoughts. My foot hurts. Do you know what I mean? So we have local thoughts to do with our local physical reality, but beyond that, I think every other thought is. You're right. I
Is that a
think
thought though, or is that an alarm system?
yeah, yeah, very possibly, very possibly.
Because the
Uh,
first thing you're doing is fuck that hurt, aren't you? That's the only
yeah,
thought you're thinking. You're not thinking, oh, you clumsy bastard. You're thinking, fuck that hurt. Then it will be you clumsy bastard.
that's right. Yeah.
So you're just reacting to something. It's a
Oh,
reaction
yeah.
more than a thought. The
And
thought
this
comes after.
So this is really interesting. This is really interesting. So I wasn't gonna mention much of this because I thought it might have been a bit too geeky or in depth. But
Mate, you're
this
talking to me. It might be for the audience. They may have switched off, but I'm still here. Come on.
so when you're with Vipassana, you're meditating 10 hours a day in groups of like hour. So you have a break every hour, and then at 7 o'clock, around I think it's around 7 o'clock, you have the discourse, which is when you go in and it's a video of Goenka um, telling you about what you've done the day. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
explaining what's going on a particular bit that you've learned of the technique. Because it's not a big technique, but you just learn a tiny, tiny little bit each day. And then you practice that tiny little bit for 10 hours. So you get really. Now, what he's saying is you're constantly feeling for sensations. And there's a reason for that. He says, because you've got the six doors of the body, the sort of six sense doors. So you've got your sight, your smell, your touch, your taste, hearing, and then there's the mind as well. And these are where these are the doors where things come into you, senses, things come into you. So
Hmm.
you'll and what happens is something, say for the felt sense is the easiest because that's the one we always work with. You feel something, right? So the sense gets activated, and then your mind has cognizance of what it is. So it says, ah, that something's happened. And then it goes back into the mind, and then it'll look through your sort of body mind as to have you experienced this before? So you get recognition, and then from recognition, usually you'll get a reaction. Oh, that bastard stood on my foot again. And then you'll have the punchy reaction. Then you have the reaction. The reaction is what we call sankharas. Then the
Hmm.
reactions are what we're working on. So you're constantly working on the senses because you're trying to get to the point where you're just equanimous to what's happening. Because ultimately, it's your reaction, the reaction to what is happening around you, that's actually causing a lot of what's going on for you. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
it's literally about just becoming the awareness.
Yeah, that's quite a deep level, that one.
And this is where like people who witness or who go through like trauma and that,
Mm,
and it's about being able to witness what happened, but
yeah,
without the attachment of the emotion.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a goal to get towards. I suppose that's what I'm working towards. I think that's a long way down the road. And it's kind of one of the things that I find about meditation that makes it a little bit inaccessible for people is when the goals just seem too far away. And so sometimes you've
Mhm.
got to rein them in, or sometimes you've got to redefine them. For me, a lot of these goals, they're just somewhere to work towards. That's it. Because meditation's like walking down the road with nowhere particularly to go. You're just walking north. You're not going to the North Pole, you're just walking north, but you're on that road. Do you know what I mean? So you're
Yeah,
constantly walking. And if you can do that, then it's like you'll get stones and stuff on the road, and there'll be rocks on the road that'll trip you up and
you'll
stuff
always
like
get
that.
obstacles. Yeah,
You'll get obstacles, but and every time your mind gets distracted, that's what they are. And a lot of them
and
are
and people have this false fallacy that the more spiritual you become, the easier life gets and the less hassles and troubles you get. That's actually the opposite. The more spiritual you get, the more problems you tend to encounter because they know that you can deal with them. So
that's an interesting thing.
it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think.
So I can give you some experience of that because this is one of the things that I've noticed. So for me, uh, life's got a lot simpler. Um, and things work for me a lot better. Um, I am finding more esoteric things becoming a problem, especially as I'm not that, as I say, I don't really believe, it's not that I don't believe in ghosts, I've still never seen them or anything like that. But I tend to feel stuff around me, and I'm definitely very aware now of what some people refer to as archon energy, the archons. If you are you familiar with the
I've
demi,
heard of the yeah,
the Alder
the
Bayoff and that?
demigods and
It's just a good way to explain what's happening. So, and I had to do a little bit of research on into archons because for me personally, it seems to tie in a lot with narcissists. I tend to attract a lot of narcissists around me, and I think there's like a bit of a pandemic of narcissism around at the moment. But the archon energy, the way I understand it, and I've no idea if this is right or not, absolutely no idea. But I've watched quite a few YouTube videos just trying to understand what's going on. Um, because I was getting triggered by somebody. I was getting kind of annoyed by somebody very close in my circle of being.
mhm,
And I just stumbled on the whole Archon thing. Archon energy, basically what it is the Archons are effectively an army of an army that the demiurge got around to to farm loose off people and to keep people in a slightly annoyed state. So
the low vibration state.
the low vibration state, and it has a particular flavor to it, it seems. So it's a
Chicken, I hear.
everything
Everything tastes like chicken.
tastes like chicken. There's the annoyance and frustration side of it, and the other side to it is a slightly sexual energy. and I'd never really picked up on that.
So would that
Uh,
be like your Kama Sutra Kundalini?
I don't know. I've no idea
Because
because I've
that's
never
a sexual
explored that.
energy, I thought.
Well, if you start looking at the whole, if you go down the dark hole of satanic ritual abuse, you'll start seeing where that becomes really, really relevant.
Mm.
I didn't realize before. It didn't, but it's the annoyance side. It's the bit that I tend to more see. And what it is archons will attach themselves in different places, and the way I see it is they'll just sit there and hover around, and they'll sit there and go,
So they're like opportunists.
amplify, and just amplify whatever's annoying you at the time. So if there's something that's bugging you, like they're always putting a spoon in the wrong place, or they're always putting something in the wrong place in the cupboard, or they're doing something that you feel they're
So
doing
so a
perfect.
little bit like if you suffer badly from OCD.
There is elements like that. Yes, there is elements like that. That would be a perfect example. They'll cotton onto that and they will amplify that level. But a lot of what will happen is that they'll attach themselves to somebody else who's completely unaware of what's going on. So these people they won't be acting out of character because they're constantly always hanging around that person anyway. But you'll find some people just, you know how some people just niggle you. There's just something about it, and they just annoy you all the time, and you just see them, and you're like,
They've just got like that face you want to punch, but they haven't necessarily done anything wrong. Yeah.
but they're always around you, like
Yeah, there's a few of those about.
yeah. There's a few of those about. Policemen, we tend to call them. No, um, but and so what they'll do is they'll hang around and the archons will sort of amplify whatever it is that's annoying because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the loose energy from you. So this is the story. Whether it's true, no idea. I'm not putting my hands up to say it's true.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense in the
It makes sense.
regards. What do you think of think about a cathedral? It's a
Yeah.
cathode. It's a
Oh
place
wow.
where it's where you go and they harvest the energy of the people in it.
Wow.
That's
I
what a
hadn't thought of
cathedral
that.
is.
Of course it is. Of course it
Yeah.
is. I hadn't thought of that.
And if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think
no,
and if you think
absolutely.
of things like Terraria, where they've got all these grand, beautiful structures that we could never pull off today, and they're
No, that's
harvesting
right.
energy from the ether with all their beautiful,
Yeah. I've
and,
always
and that's what
noticed.
a cathedral is. If
Yeah,
you
I've always
think of
noticed.
also the cathedral windows
Hmm.
and the shapes, they're all
There's a
shapes
very
of frequencies.
There's a very specific thing about that I read the other day. Just going off track very slightly.
So
Apparently, stained glass windows are a uh, satanic or Masonic thing
Masonic,
specifically.
probably.
But yeah, I think it's Masonic because I think it's designed to throw light in a particular shape in particular colors to activate. So I think it might come from the deep Illuminati type of.
Won't it be to do with like maybe the 33-degree angle of light, the
No, I
same
think
as
it
a
goes.
pyramid?
I think it goes into so a lot of the 33 and that sort of symbology of Freemason, I think, actually comes from deeper state of what we tend to call the Illuminati now, but not the same Illuminati that's the German and Bavarian Illuminati, which is what everyone thinks to.
As in
That lot
just
has
the
always,
enlightened ones.
yeah, that lot's always been there. It became the Illuminati and then into the Freemasons or whatever it is.
Because
However you
basically,
want to look,
the Freemasons, what they practice is basically is it esoteric? It's like alchemy.
until you speak to any of them. I know two Freemasons. They haven't got a clue what it's about. They say, no, 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 no. We're just a charity. Like,
Well, this
okay.
is it. It's all compartmentalized, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's weird.
But
Um,
going back,
yeah.
going back quickly, what the Archons will do is they'll either hang around you or they'll hang around other people. And when you start to see them, you start to see what's going on. And when you can spot it, you can go, ah, Archons. And as soon as you spot it, they drop away. They just disappear. They can't.
So it's like everything in this world is all about
If you,
consent.
yeah, as soon as you see it, they disappear. So the person that annoys me a lot, there's a lot of Archon energy around this person because this person drinks alcohol and stuff like that, and so and it's just is unaware, and that's what they like to be around. And there's a bit of sexual energy that's going around there
Hmm.
as well. And when I'm weak and not in a very strong place, because we can't all be in a strong place all the time,
Of course not.
and it niggles me. If I can get into my mind and understand it, I just have to look on. I can see some archons, and then suddenly it just drops away, and suddenly the mood just lightens, and then I just have a laugh with this person, and it immediately changes the interaction into one of annoyance into one where you're actually having a really pleasant interaction with them, having a bit of a laugh and a giggle, and I hope you have a nice day. And for me, meditation is the goal of meditation for me is to move away from the dualistic world that we're in. So whenever I enter into an argument, the goal for me is how can we maintain our differences of opinion, but de-escalate it.
Mm.
So it's always on the de-escalation. How can we make it off? Yeah, okay. Even if it's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah,
Even in the spiritual realm, that they,
yeah.
even
Well,
if
this is
you
where it comes from.
and even if you've done like ayahuasca or DMT and that, it all boils down to ev- everything's happy. It's a joke, be happy, Even the bad
Yeah.
shit's funny, it doesn't matter. It's all
Well,
irrelevant.
I look a little bit like that now because the thing is where I work, which I don't want to quite advertise, but you come down the steps and there's like a big ticker along the top of this box where they read the news from. There's a ticker and it's the Twitter is their I think it's their Twitter feed or is there it's the little feed that goes along the bottom of the TV, I think it is, and it's always like it just gets worse and worse every day. It's like. Um, Keir Starmer has approved this draconian thing, or these people have done this, and then the next day it'll be teenager has murdered this thing, and then the next day toddler has murdered this person. It just gets more and more, and then it's just like, I just look at it, and
They
now
just
people
want
look
you
at me,
in.
I look at it and laugh, and then people look at me and go, they're shocked.
It's just a
But
program, isn't it? They're just rolling out a program to keep you low in that low vibration state because that's what these bastards feed off.
Well, it's just all these things are happening all the time. It's just now we've got a focused way of directing it to people
Mm.
through TV. But it's
Can
like
I
people,
ask you a
oh,
question?
climate change is getting worse. It's like, no, it's not. It's always
No,
been
it's
there.
not.
It's just now we can tell people about it.
That's the black box that lies to you. Have you heard of, because I always bring this up, the sacred secretion?
Sacred secret. No, I haven't.
Oh, mate, if you want to magnify your results in your life, I strongly urge, much like the Wim Hof, that
Yeah,
you look into the sacred secretion.
the sacred secretion. I have
Okay,
maybe.
a more modern term, maybe without like the religious connotations to it, would be no fap.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have. I have. Yeah, I know a little bit about that.
I
Yeah, I
tried
mean.
it. I did. I have tried it, and every time I've tried it, my life has improved.
It does, yeah, it does. I mean, this is one of the things I was talking about the archons. So the not the annoyance side, the sexual energy side of it. This is where they lock onto because ultimately, when you start going down the road of where we actually come from, what we're actually here for, and it's like, if you go into that whole third dimension, or as David Icke talks about it, prime reality, and all this sort of side of it, you'll start to see that. Um, a lot of the histories that you look at, you read around that Sumerian text and stuff, we've been pushed down into a third dimension. And ultimately, the third dimension is one of the hardest realities to be living in because it's a dualistic one.
Mm.
And you start to move up through the other dimensions.
It's
Apparently,
heavy.
it's yeah, but it's dualistic as well. So it's split up. So it's constantly arguing and yes or no. And I mean, it's a bizarre world. In order for you to live, something else has to die. It's a nonsense. And when you put it like that, but it's just the way it is.
This is why
I
I'm
look,
always arguing with vegans. I was like,
this is, I mean,
you can go on about your bloody salads, and that's all very well, but do you know how many moles,
I
field
know.
rats, um, insects, birds, you name it, have all died just so you can eat your
Yeah.
greens?
I mean, this is the case. This is often the case. I mean, I do a lot of foraging myself. I mean, I'm vegetarian
Yeah, people need
for
to get back
weird
into that.
reasons, but I used to eat meat. But the reason I'm vegetarian now is because I just don't trust what they put into the animals.
No, especially when they're going to start injecting vaccines into them.
Yeah, I know.
Weren't that something that was being talked about not that long ago for the vaccine hesitant?
Well, you know what they say. If they're about to talk about it, it means they've
It's
probably been doing
already
it
been
for the
done
past
it.
100
Mm.
years.
See,
I remember the whole Monsanto blow up back in about
Mm.
2000. And I was like, that's when I started getting onto the whole organic thing anyway. Because so I'm very, very, very careful. That's the most important part of my life is the water that I drink and the food that I eat. So I collect rainwater and I filter it through one of those lifesaver jerry cans at the moment. And I've got a water butt just at the corner of the house there, and I just fill that up every day, and that's where I get my water from. So I know my water is light charged, and it's naturally structured because it's fallen from the sky. It
Mm.
may have heavy metals and stuff in it. I'm
I
hoping that
was
my
just going to talk about. I was just going to mention chemtrails.
yeah. So I mean, but the thing is what actually comes out of the tap is so I've done a lot of work with water because as a craniosacral therapist, I used to work with water. I used to work on somebody, and then I'd go and charge up some water and restructure it to what I've just felt off of them, and I'd give them a bottle of it to go and sip. It's part of a placebo type thing, but it works really well. And I've just found myself working more and more and more and more with water. So I have a pint of water every morning that I sit before I do my meditation. I'll just sit with it. I have a little bit of Himalayan salt in it,
Hmm. For the
so I get my
electrolytes.
electrolytes. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and that I'd have that every morning. Um, but water that comes out the tap, even before the government have decided to make it into their own juice, there's a problem with it because it's going through ancient Victorian waterways, and a lot of the water is just sat in dark for a lot of the time in a dark, unstructured way because it's just come straight out of the processing plant, straight into pipes, into darkness. So there's no light. And people say, "Oh, it's only water," and it's like, phew, I tell you what, if you go and water your garden, if you have like a plant pot, you give it rainwater one day for a bit, and you give another plant water out the tap. You see which one dies.
Mm.
You see which one lives and which one thrives. There's a marked difference. Do you
Absolutely,
know what
there
I mean?
is.
And
See,
so,
with water,
mm,
I do have a bit of a funny relationship with water, and I'll
mm,
tell you why. And my son, actually, it's, you were saying you've never had any weird encounters.
yeah.
Well, I have with water, and I have with an acorn.
Oh
Was it an
wow.
acorn or a pine cone? I can't remember if it was a pine cone. It might have been a pine cone, actually. Right. Yeah, this is weird, but and you may have had this and it slipped your mind, but I can sometimes walk around, not so much here, but when I used to work in the factory, but my boys had it here at home, and he will just get a little droplet of water land on him.
Oh really?
Just a little droplet will just, where the fuck did that come from?
I've had that in the past.
So you have had an encounter then.
Yeah, I think I probably have had encounters here, there, and everywhere. Um,
And the other one was the pine cone, and I was sat upstairs, so there was no window behind me. The window was at the far end of the room. My
yeah,
friend and the window opened like that, so not
yeah,
like this. My friend was sat that end on the keyboard playing. I was this end on the guitar playing,
yeah.
and a pine cone literally just fell and hit me on the head. It didn't come flying in and hit me on the head. It literally dropped and hit me on the head. How the did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, this is making me think of those things where when you lose something and you'll find it in a place that it just couldn't have been. You'd never have put it there.
Yeah.
I mean, I that's how stuff affects me. So I think I have encounters all the time, and I fully believe in them. But I think there's something in my system that kind of blocks them in a way from being able to visually see them necessarily. I don't know why. It might be part of why I'm here, of what I'm trying to
Your
learn.
learning curve.
But yeah, I think we all have slightly different things. But the amount of times when I was like, "Where is that thing?" And I've like the other day, I lost my phone, and it's like I don't carry my phone around with me. I don't like having a phone. I've got a phone only bank for some god knows reason, but I can't get off my phone. So I have a mobile phone, but I don't walk around with it unless I'm on my motorbike. Where because there's no phones anywhere now, I'll take it with me. And I'll have it in a Faraday bag and on airplane mode.
We used to have them on our wrist,
I have to-
a watch for time.
So I don't like having phones at all and I'll tell you why. Because the other day I lost it, and I'm like, and I kind of needed it because I knew someone was I had a text message or something, and I'm like, where's my phone? And I'm like, my room's not the tidiest of rooms. I'm not a very tidy person, but I'm not that bad. And there's a little stand that it just sits and charges on. Oh, I tore my whole room apart. I was like, where is it? And then it was just sitting there in front of me on the desk, just not on the stand. And I'm just like, that can't have been there all this time. And I think things just disappear and appear. Do you know what I mean? And I think it just totally, I just think this reality we live in, I just don't think it's real in any form or fashion. I think it's
Well,
almost,
they tell you this as a child, don't they?
do they?
Yeah, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream.
Oh, there.
You're
Yeah.
told all these things subconsciously growing up.
You are actually through all the fairy tales and stuff like that. Yeah. Was a big if you look into the dark world of Mr. Crowley, you'll find his book. He had a book called Magic and Theory and Practice. And I remember as a kid when I was into heavy metal and wanted to be a wannabe Satanist at the time. Do you know what I mean? The age of 13 because it annoys your parents. And you're all into like Venom and Slayer and all that sort of thing. So you end up buying these, but I'm buying Magic by Aleister Crowley. I haven't got it anymore. It disappeared from my life about 2 years later. I never read it either, but I did look into it, and me and my friends were discussing it. It's like it's all just poems and fairy stories. You couldn't and it's only now that I read the stuff that I have been reading, but particularly Mr. Ike, and then people like I can't remember his name now. Bloodlines of the Illuminati is one of my favorite books. Fritz Springmeier. You start seeing where all this becomes relevant because he starts going into the details and he's going, these people have been telling you this all this time, but because our language is so, it's been so mutilated. I mean, you can see it happening now.
This is
Our
why they
language
took
is
this is why they
dying.
took Latin out of the school,
That's right.
so you
That's
couldn't
right.
read
I think
legal
I learned that
contracts.
from one of your podcasts, I
You
think,
may well have done. You may
actually.
well have done with the great David James.
That was the one. I really enjoyed that. In fact, I started trying to learn Latin after that, and it's like,
He will be coming back on the
really?
show soon. I saw him
Very
the
interesting, young
weekend.
man. Yeah, yeah.
He's had a hell of a lot to endure because obviously when you speak the truth, they come for you. So he's had his boy taken from him.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, but he's in good form and he's due to come back onto the show, and we're going to be talking about that. Kind of like you're all capital letters, unless there's like a hyphen between each word, that's
Mm.
not English. But
Yeah.
when you're getting all these legal letters with all caps, that's fraud because they're not writing in English.
So I don't pay any attention to any of those anymore because I've realised that I don't need a credit rating because I'm not going to ever get a mortgage, not in this country anyway. They can't really touch me because everything the state does revolves around you being in debt and being scared about that. As soon as you stop being scared about being in debt, then you're like, oh, well, I'll pay you some money if you prove that I owe you money. But if you can't prove that I owe you money, then I'm not going to give it to you. And I'm
Mm.
just going to stand my ground on that.
I keep thinking we need to put our house in somebody else's name so then we can play the game and then we just live in tenants.
Um,
But I don't know how that
yeah.
works.
Or what you could do is you could
Or
sell
just
your
put it in a
house.
trust.
You could sell your house and put the equity into gold or something like that. And
Yeah,
then
but then where do you live? Because
you
rent's more
rent.
expensive than the bloody mortgage.
Yeah, well, I know this is the problem. This is the problem. But ultimately, if you think about it, the way I'd look at it is, you're doing a lot of good work anyway. You don't need to do all the work. Do you know what I mean? So you do need to keep yourself. You fight some battles. You don't fight all of them
Mm.
because there's people out there that do fight them, and there's people out there that are really good at them. And there's some things that you'll be able to chip away at, and some that you can't. You know, the council tax is a difficult one. They're still after me 3 years later. And I had someone helping me who's sort of kind of not anymore. But then, as like you mentioned before, it's like all the letters have sort of stopped and dropped away because I just keep going back to them. And it's like the more you go back to them and say, well, you still have to give me proof.
Apparently,
Eventually, you get
if
the
you just
message.
return the letter back saying the person you're email or messaging is dead,
So that
because technically they are because that's a dead entity.
so this comes into a this comes into a world for me that becomes difficult. Um, Going back to the meditation and Vipassana, there's five precepts that you take before you do Vipassana on the courses, and these five precepts are no killing, no wrong speak, no lying, no sexual misconduct, no intoxicants, and I've forgotten the last one. No killing, no stealing. Um, and so when it comes to the wrong speak, I was learning all about the no wrong speak. So when you're on a retreat and it's silent retreat, you're not speaking. And I'm, s- oh, I realise we've got up to the hour, but
That's all right.
oh yeah, there's something really, really beautiful about the noble silence on Vipassana, and I'll tell you what that is, if I may, because it's really,
Hmm.
really important. When you don't speak to anybody for 10 days, after about 2 days, your mind starts to just go crystal clear. It just drops into a place and so you'll be walking around the woods because there's some nice walking areas around there. And you walk around the woods or you'll sit in the little field out the back. And you'll just start getting like really old memories of like climbing trees as a kid or times you were having fun. These really old memories. You're like, I've forgotten about all of that. They always come up for me because all the local traffic in your mind has stopped. So you don't, when you're not talking to anybody, you suddenly don't have to worry about that you've said the wrong thing to anybody. You haven't got that clutter in your mind. So the whole precept, the whole sort of being a bit pious and all this sort of thing, they say it is it comes to us as a control thing especially when you look at things like the Catholic Church and stuff, it's like being, but actually where it comes from, if you go further back into it, it comes from a state of, if you don't do any wrong, that's not cluttering your mind up. So on these 10-day retreats where you're not talking, your mind just goes crystal clear and it just settles and you're able to just work on what other stuff that's coming up, older stuff that's coming up. But so they have a thing called so there's no wrong speak. So when you're serving, once you've done some meditation, you can then go and serve. So the centers are all run by people just giving their time.
Volunteers.
Yeah, they're old students because they want to be there. They get to meditate 3 times a day. You get to be in Dharma Deepa all that time, constantly around meditators. You're meeting experienced ones. You're meeting the assistant teachers, all this sort of stuff. So it just goes into another level type thing. And so I did serving 3 weeks ago for 10 days, and I was doing household on this occasion. So I was cleaning the showers and the toilets and that sort of thing. And it's pretty relaxed. It's not like being in the kitchens, which is kind of a bit more full on. But you do have all your stuff coming up. But
Especially
one
if
of
you can't talk.
yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't talk around the students, so you can talk where at the back. You can talk because obviously you
Right,
have
okay. Because I was going to say, trying to prepare a meal for hundreds of people.
to 250, yeah. So yeah, you just make sure that you're not talking around the students, so the students can't hear voices and stuff like that. We're kind of separate from there, and you're doing all your cleaning when they're all meditating and stuff like that anyway. But so what you have as servers, you have noble speech. So instead of noble silence, you have noble speech. And noble speech means that you're not allowed to say anything wrong bad to somebody. You don't insult anybody. You don't speak about other people to people. So no gossiping type thing. And don't bring up difficult conversations. So don't start bringing up satanic ritual abuse and baby eating. Don't don't and you know, and anything that comes up for you, that's what the meditation session's for. You'll then go away and you'll deal with it that way. So they have a obviously you can't do that in everyday life, but that's how they deal with it. So the wrong speak thing is kind of an interesting one. So when it comes to this is where I battle with a lot of the legal things and where I probably haven't played it as well as I could have done, but I've done okay. Um, I still find that even though I know there's loads of fraud and stuff coming at me, and the government are doing all they want to be just. I mean, the world's ridiculous. We know it's
Well,
ridiculous.
I would look at it from this point of view because I know what you're going to say, but I
I
would
don't
look
want
at
to
it.
join in,
I
basically.
would look at it from this point of view. You've got two options. You can either be governed by God or
Yeah,
you can be governed by man.
you can
And even Jesus, he wasn't nice. He was fair. He was just. He
if he
wasn't
existed.
nice. He was throwing tables across the rooms. He was hurling people out. He was a bastard if he had to be. but it was a
There is
pastor
that.
to the right people.
There is that. Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is uh, it's more a case of I don't want to join in. So for me, butting up against, I haven't found a way to butt up against it and for it not to enter into the duality and then sit in my mind. But I don't comply, and this is how I kind of deal with it. I just refuse to comply because they're asking me, and I'm saying no, I'm not going to. That's as simple as that's where it goes. But I wouldn't turn around and say I don't exist because that to me would be a wrong speak. Whereas me turning around saying
No,
no,
but
I'm
you're
not.
not. So no, no, no. That's not right though.
Is it
We're
not?
not. We're not saying you don't exist. You, as Rob,
Yeah,
the living flesh before me, he
yeah,
exists.
yeah.
But the person on the envelope isn't that person.
I
The
know. I
person
still
on the
can't get my.
envelope is a legal fiction
I
created
know.
at birth using
I've
your placenta as the dead twin, which is where the saying "worth your weight in gold" comes from.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know all of this. I haven't been able to actually embody it completely, though. I haven't been able to get my head totally round it. But I do agree with it, and I do go down that route. Um,
So
but
that's just my way that you could relinquish any kind of guilt if you were feeling guilty about putting this person's deceased because that person is deceased,
I'm
lost at
I'm just
sea.
happy. I'm just happy to turn around and say, no, I'm not going to pay you because that's the truth.
Mm.
So if someone says you owe me this, I'll say, prove it. No, I'm not going to pay you. So I suppose in some respect, my way is a bit more confrontational, but at least I don't have to sit there and think, well, I've just lied to this person. So anyway, that's my way of doing it. But no, I fully support all of that. And I've watched a lot. I just can't get my head around a lot of I've tried learning a lot of the legal stuff. I've got
It
black.
is very difficult.
You do a much better job of that what I've done because I've looked at a lot of the legal stuff that you've written. Um, I've just found it really interesting. I found it really, and that's probably why I've ended up following you for so long, actually. Because I was like, how did you come up with this? How have you managed to come up with it? The last one
Well, I
that I found,
talk to interesting people. I have people who have given me nuggets that I've then um, conveyed to you guys.
yeah,
Um, I use other things, and there's loads of information out there.
there is loads of information out there. Some people are better at. Some people are better at that. I'm slightly better at the just sitting still.
There's
That's
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
no.
that at all.
The
But what
last
was
person I found really interesting was the was it Peter Willis?
Peter
About the
Wilson?
GDP, Pete Wilson, that's it, the GDPR stuff. I found
Yeah.
his stuff really, really interesting. I've been looking into that, but other than that, I just sit and I just find being still and just observing my own reactions to things. Um, it's been really working for me,
Mm. I have
and
to say, I love my own company, and I
I
don't
love my.
mean I don't mean that in a narcissist way. I just mean because I very very rarely have the telly on.
I
To
don't watch
be
that
to be
at all.
fair, I'm usually in front of the computer, either
Yeah, same.
making or talking to decent people like yourself.
Thank you very much.
But otherwise, I just like to. Maybe it's because I spent years as a security guard working nights as well that I just like my own company. I just draw.
I, I worked in the music industry for 20 odd years, backline tech. If anyone came near me, I told them get lost.
Yeah, I haven't had the luxury of working in the industry yet, but I'm
I,
hoping my solo career will. I don't mean like selling album solo career, just going out as a solo artist. I'm hoping that will be fruitful for me.
well, I was hoping to come up to the festival in Thetford, and I'd even bought a bike about 2 days earlier, and I was ready to come up because it was actually my birthday that happened on, and it chucked it down. It was like torrential
It's
rain
horrible,
at
yeah.
7 in the morning, and I'm just like, I really, really wanted to go. I really wanted to go. I really, really wanted to go because I haven't been to any of these truth.
Go next year.
Anyway, yeah, well, I'll come next year. And then I heard you did a little report, and I heard you'd been singing on. I was like, damn, I wish I'd been
Yeah,
there.
I did my little Pink Floyd set.
Oh, did you? Nice. Yeah, I'm a big Pink Floyd fan as well.
That's my stage name, Floyd of Fancy.
Oh, Floyd of Fancy. Oh, very nice. I'll look out for you in future then.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Like I said, I've just got the okay to use a church to set
That'd be
up my
cool.
gear and my lights so I can do some photo.
Oh, that'd be cool. Maybe I should send you
opportunities.
some of the weird bass lines that I come up with, and see if you find them interesting, see if you can make them into songs.
Well, feel free, mate. I've got recording software.
I use Logic.
Okay, I use what do I use? I use Personas.
Oh, I don't know that one. I wonder if they'll come. I'll probably have to send you MP3s then one time. Yeah.
MP3 waves,
Wabs. Oh,
waves
right.
rather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, listen, it's been wonderful speaking to you, with you. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences. I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed it too, Rob.
Oh, I've
Um,
thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if you talked that much about meditation, but I tried.
no, we did, and let's see how this goes. And we can always have you back on to talk about meditation or something else.
You never
But
know.
yeah,
Well,
but
I hope I've inspired you as well to sit for a couple of minutes every day and see what happens. Um,
definitely, I'm definitely going to look into that breathing
just
exercise.
just for 2 or 3 minutes every morning, and get a regular thing going, and you'll see over the next take a couple of months, and you'll start seeing. You'll be surprised. Things will suddenly. You'll be like, if you don't sit one day, you'll be like, oh. You'll find the day will just go differently. Even from like 2 or 3 minutes, you'd be surprised how just making your mind stop for a little bit in the day, it's like putting a full stop on the mess that is the mind.
No, absolutely, 100%. Nice one, mate. Thanks ever so much, and thank you everyone watching. And until next time, look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.